Suge Knight's shocking claims about Sean Combs are out, and now Usher and Justin Bieber are joining forces to reveal what happened when they were just kids in Diddy's world. Knight told Michael Frenzy in prison that Diddy sent a young Justin on romantic trips with older men and showed Instagram photos with no one else in them. He called it the saddest thing he had ever seen, and those words hit hard because they came from someone who knew Diddy's world so well. Now, two of the biggest names in music are speaking up together. We'll show you key evidence, play raw clips that never made headlines, and walk you through the timeline of those early days. We'll let their own words tell the story and show how two young stars got caught up in something darker than fame.
When Usher was super young, he got signed to a guy named L.A. Reid, this famous music executive. Usher then loses his voice. L.A. Reid wants to help him, get back on track, so he sends him over to this guy named Puff Daddy. And as you can imagine, Usher had a problem, he just didn't know it yet. See, Puff Daddy was this up-and-coming music executive who could really turn someone into a star. He put them through this thing called Flavor Camp. And during Usher's term in this Flavor Camp, he lived with Puff. And in Usher's words, he would see questionable things. He said at any given time, you can open the door and see a bunch of random people playing Netflix. He said he would be up all night partying when all he really wanted to do was go to the studio. And this is when people speculate that Diddy did something to Usher. Now, I need you to listen to me. I'm gonna give you the evidence as to why people believe this. But until you hear words from Usher, Diddy, Justin Bieber, nobody knows anything. All right, so Diddy and Usher are in an interview with Kevin Hart. Diddy said, "Hey, yo, pause. When Usher used to live with me, we used to wrestle for Frosted Flakes." Kevin Hart said, "What?" And he grabs Kevin Hart and pulls him off camera because Kevin Hart doesn't have a filter. After Diddy's Flavor Camp, Usher comes out with an album called Usher. It has really explicit details about watching Netflix. And of course, the album was executively produced by Puff Daddy. His mom was like, "Yo, what the?" So she grabs Usher. You got former bodyguards coming out saying, yeah, Diddy was very inappropriate with Usher. There's a rumor that Usher got sent to the hospital because of an encounter with Diddy. In fact, rumors have been circulating for like 20 years about this situation. Which brings us to Usher and Justin Bieber. See, Justin Bieber was coming up in the same way Usher was, like when he was super young. L.A. Reid again found Justin Bieber. Usher and Justin Timberlake both wanted to sign Bieber, but Bieber chooses Usher and Usher basically becomes a mentor. Now, Usher then sends a young Bieber to Diddy for 48 hours. And in this interview, Diddy's saying stuff like, "Man, Justin is doing things that any 15-year-old would dream of doing." And the thing that's always kind of annoyed me about Diddy personally is he's always towing this imaginary line in interviews. Because of his ego, he has been snitching on himself in interviews. If you listen, he'll say something like, "Justin be having a really good time with me." If no one acknowledges it, he'll be like, "But I can't say it."
Now, one person that knows what's the saddest thing in the world is what they did to Justin Bieber.
What was that?
That's sad.
What'd they do to him? Because there's a lot of speculation out there, but nobody. I mean, I've heard things, but what did they really do to him?
They had sex with him
When he was a kid?
I hate to say that. But I hate to say that because I really like Justin Bieber. I feel bad for Justin Bieber. And this is when that happened. If Justin Bieber came from a wealthy family. Justin Bieber pretty much came from a poor family, but the young man was so talented, and he could have been bigger than Michael Jackson. But the question of the drugs and the stuff he allowed these grown men to do to this little boy is unhealthy and it's tough. No grown men supposed to be getting high and doing drugs and drinking with kids. I mean, you had grown men would take Justin Bieber. A grown man take Justin Bieber when he was young to a vacation, a romantic vacation, showing pictures on the Instagram with no women, nobody else but a grown, successful man and this little kid. And even if you and I was going on vacation together, and regardless if wise, mad or not, it's definitely not going to be in me and you. It's going to be mad because we're going to have to. Oh, I'm not going to be sitting on a romantic island, just you and me.
Hell
you know
no.
what I mean?
Hell no.
I'd rather take the chance. Of my girl saying, "Hey, you out there having parties and all, you right." She damn sure ain't going to say this, you and I on a romantic island, that's us. The worst part about it is, everybody said what was done to Usher, and they done to Justin Bieber. And the thing with Usher spent the night in Prima Puppy in the same bed to do an album, and they never did one song they put out at that time. On top of that, when I met Usher, I came on one time, I'm speaking to the guy because he got good songs. That's out of respect. Like, young black man. This dude rolled his eyes at me. And so somebody came over and kind of said, you know, don't have one of your guys do nothing to him. He a good young man, but him and Puffy got a thing. He a thing. He said, he gave me a look like, you know. And I thought about it. The way he rolled his eyes at me wasn't like somebody homie rolled it. It was like I beat up somebody, man. Like I beat his, you know, he the bitch. Like somebody to roll their eyes, like you beat my boyfriend up. I ain't speaking to you. Really? One of those, right?
Before the chart-topping hits, Usher was just a 13-year-old living with Sean Combs as his legal guardian. Diddy produced Usher's debut album in 1994 and helped guide him into the music industry. Usher has shared that he felt special during that time, but he also admits he was too young to recognize the darker side of that mentorship. Now, after decades of success, he's teaming up with Justin Bieber to reveal the full truth about those early years. It's proof that even the brightest stars can be just kids caught in someone else's spotlight.
He appeared on the televised talent show Star Search when he was 13 years old. Fun fact about that, he actually set the record for the longest note ever held by a child on Star Search, 12 seconds. So what happened? That got the attention of famed producer L.A. Reid. But according to his coaches, reportedly during puberty, when Usher's voice started to change, he kind of had trouble controlling his vocals. Now, L.A. Reid reportedly considered dropping Usher from his label, but when Usher begged him to stay on, Reid sent him to live with Sean Combs in New York for a year to train. And at the time, Combs, who was then known as Puff Daddy, we believe was in his 20s, there were these apparent training sessions. And these training sessions were known as Puffy Flavor Camp.
Golden Ticket was my voice, and I lost it.
This girl is changing my mind, so what? I really don't care. I got a headache, you know, from doing all them high notes.
Hey man, it's just puberty, you're gonna go through it. But when you raise your voice to sing, and you could do it so easily, now it's not there, it's gone. And you don't know if it's gonna come back either. I waited all my life for this opportunity, so I performed before this audience. I think I may have ran about 10 miles. When I got back, my mother, she told me, I know this is hard, but we're gonna fight for it. We're gonna fight through it, and I'm gonna make sure that they don't drop you.
Usher was 13 to 14 years old at the time. Combs reportedly had legal guardianship over Usher during that period. Can't confirm that for sure. And since his time with Combs, Usher has worked with several other producers and record labels, and he's become one of the top-selling R&B artists of all time. His awards and nominations are almost too many to count. He's won 8 Grammy Awards, 18 Billboard Music Awards. He's been inducted into the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Rolling Stone magazine recently named the album Confessions Part 2 as the #1 greatest R&B song of the 21st century. The magazine also ranked the song's music video among its 30 sexiest music videos of all time, and VH1 wrote that he was the best dancer in pop since Michael Jackson. And of course, Usher recently performed last year at the Super Bowl halftime show, so he's not just any musical artist, he is a superstar who, you gotta say, his success has been at least partially attributed to his time spent with Sean Combs. The two have been photographed together at different events throughout the years.
In 2004, when Confessions was taking over, Usher spoke to Rolling Stone and revealed that Diddy had opened his eyes to a world he wasn't ready for. He specifically mentioned that doors were open to scenes he couldn't understand, orgies, couples in private rooms, things he couldn't process at just 16 years old. Back then, it seemed like bravado, but now those memories are powerful, proof in a joint effort to show that what seemed like fast-lane fun for two teens was something much darker. Usher's words, once brushed off, now play a crucial role in their shared story.
Over the years, Usher has spoken about this time in his life with Combs. For example, in 2004, Usher told Rolling Stone that Combs introduced him to essentially sex. He said, quote, "Sex is so hot in the industry, man. There was always girls around. You'd open a door and see somebody doing it or several people in a room having an orgy. You never knew what was going to happen." On the Howard Stern Show in 2016, Usher talked about his time with Combs too, saying there was definitely a lot of wild partying, but he doesn't think he was really able to understand what all was going on. And when Howard Stern asked him, would you send your own kids to something like Puffy Flavor Camp, this is what he had to say.
What a life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
See?
Usher also spoke with People magazine back in February, saying some of the most valuable lessons I could ever learn as an entrepreneur were picked up when I spent that time in New York with him. This unwavering desire to create and make certain that your creative ideas are executed. I saw him in real time working it out, him building something from nothing, him understanding how culture and collaboration can build careers, being able to see that. That's what I got.
We want to thank you. Come here. Don't sit on the bed at night. No homo. No, just don't get close to the bed. Don't get close. But it's just like, yo, we want to thank you for hosting the thing, man. It's been a pleasure. You didn't have to do it, and you did.
No. I definitely didn't have to do it. I definitely didn't have to. First and foremost, I'm not getting in the bed. Shout out to him and what he did. I'm just gonna, if we can, let's just put the camera a little this way, just so we're not. I don't want my shot to even, I don't want it to come close to the bed at all. I should look like he fresh off a goddamn plane. I should.
Fresh off the garden stage. That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, pause, but like just out. Back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up early with me. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world. And
What the fuck did Puff just say? Nobody's gonna acknowledge this but me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes. And we're streaming live. That was stupid. Listen, that was fucking stupid. Listen.
We having a good time, yo. Usher made it.
At his 35th birthday party, Usher revisited those memories, thanking Diddy for everything, from the parties and women to sex and drugs. He said he enjoyed the ride, but never let it take control. At the time, it seemed like a loyal shout-out to a mentor, but looking back, it offers a glimpse of a teenager torn between admiration and confusion. Now, Usher wants the world to know that he was just a kid, too young to make those choices. He's ready to stand with Justin and shed light on what really happened.
The allegations is that he forced individuals to take drugs and participate in sexual performances known as freak-offs and to keep quiet about all of this. Now, Combs and his attorneys have denied that he did anything wrong, but thanks to allegations of witness tampering and fear he might flee, 2 different judges denied him bail. He's being locked up right now in the Metropolitan Detention Center out in Brooklyn. Many people are wondering what he might have seen at a young age when he lived with Combs in the 90s. This is a very common topic of conversation right now. Deep dives into the people surrounding Combs. Justin Bieber, Jennifer Lopez, Usher, so forth. What do they know? Will they be a part of any kind of case? Now, days before Combs was arrested, another of his apparent mentees filed a civil action against him, Dawn Richard. Dawn Richard is a former member of the girl group Danity Kane, and then she joined a trio group with Combs and another singer, Kalina Harper. It was called Diddy Dirty Money. She filed a lawsuit claiming that Combs sexually and verbally abused her for a decade. She also claimed that Combs owes her more than $3 million in unpaid salary and royalties, as well as unpaid wages for touring. And going back to Usher, Richard claims that Usher witnessed Combs' alleged abuse of his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Ventura had filed her own bombshell lawsuit last fall, seemingly kickstarting Combs' significant legal troubles.
In 2016, on Howard Stern, Usher referred to Diddy's gatherings as Puffy's Flavor Camp and admitted that strange things went on behind closed doors. He laughed it off at the time, but today, those curious events now seem like red flags. Usher and Justin are revisiting every past interview and casual comment as if they're pieces of evidence, re-examining the moments everyone dismissed as just part of the industry. They're showing how 2 teenagers were pushed into a world they never should have been in, and now they're holding the man responsible accountable.
To New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year. It was curious. I got a chance to see some things. It was pretty wild.
Usher's past comments on Diddy now going viral.
These are places that a 13-year-old probably should not be.
In the wake of his former mentor's federal house raids.
I met Puffy a long time ago, around, 92.
Flash forward to 2016 on The Howard Stern Show, the singer recalling his wild memories of living with Diddy, who now faces serious legal trouble, including sex trafficking allegations.
We're sending you
New
over
York
to something
City.
called Puffy Flavor Camp.
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like? I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. It was pretty wild. There were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand.
Yeah, but it had all of the freak off victims on it. You know, Usher was like, we were just sitting up there. Who's the next victim on the playlist? And he, you won't break my soul. You won't break my soul.
Damn. Can we talk?
No, it was Confessions. They played Usher Confessions. Confessed that Lifetime Achievement Award was a fucking hush payment for your fucking asshole and all of the many years of abuse. That wasn't no Lifetime. I'm still mad. People say, why you say that about Usher?
Oh. So,
I'm mad that people aren't more mad at Usher. Because somewhere along the way he went from a victim.
Justin was signed when he was just 13 years old, and I should mention he was signed by Usher to a label that was owned jointly by both Scooter Braun and Usher, and he was considered Usher's protege. He has been described Usher as his mentor, which is why his adorable premiere music video that I showed you guys last week, entitled One Time, they had created this storyline in which a young Justin Bieber is playing video games with his friends, and Usher calls him and says that he's running late. You know, his big bro Usher calls him, and then Justin Bieber does the teenager thing and throws a party while Usher is out. So take a look at the beginning of that music video now.
Oh, 3! That was not luck, that was skill. Yo, I'm killing him. Yo, Usher.
JB, what's up, man?
I'm just playing video games with Ryan.
You think you can hold the house down till I get back?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, my man.
Yo.
That's how it starts, and then all of a sudden he has a party, and like I said, if you can imagine for a 13-year-old kid, I think he's 14 in the video, what a big deal. You're with Usher, one of the princes of R&B, and now he's your mentor, and you're doing what you love, you're singing songs, and their long relationship has been well documented throughout the media.
Even Diddy's former bodyguard added to the alarm. Gene Deal claimed he overheard executives talking about Usher being sent to the hospital after suffering abuse so severe that he bled from the buttocks. At the time, Deal didn't know Usher's name. He just knew someone had been hurt. That story remained hidden until now. Usher and Justin are now piecing together these fragments, Suge Knight's prison tales, rumors, Usher's own flashes of memory, all to show that they were just kids, vulnerable to a predator's power.
You know how people be talking and we was around some people, something like that, and then some people might say, yo, I don't F with that dude. And at the time, I didn't even know who the F Usher was. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those type of situations. And when somebody say, yo, man, I don't F with them, man, I'm getting out that industry and everything like that. You know, Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent him to the hospital? Man, Nick was bleeding from the butt. And that's what was said. I didn't even have a name for the kid at the time. Then you heard, and that's what happened.
Usher was allegedly put in the hospital after Diddy penetrated him at Flavor Camp at 14 years old.
I know, and people know, that was around in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital.
Usher is caught in the crossfire when he was named in the latest lawsuit against Diddy by Lil Rod. The lawsuit alleges that Diddy was bragging to Lil Rod about hooking up with two people in the industry. One of them, a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj, allegedly Meek Mill, and an artist who performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency, which fans say is Usher.
Guys, on the real, like, a lot of you youngsters, y'all really need to check your history, man. Usher's mother gave Diddy full custody over him when he was about either 12 or 13 years old. I can't remember. she signed over legal guardianship to Diddy for her son. And at that point, back then when he was 14 years old, that's when Diddy diddled Usher, and he had to be rushed to the hospital in New York City because he had something wrong with his rectum. Later on, he caught herpes. And for those y'all, I'm 47, for those y'all in my age category, y'all know, for a while you didn't hear from Usher. And then all of a sudden, he popped back on the scene and he was making music. But he got diddled, man. I mean, it's not funny. Somebody should have reported that stuff back then. But hey, man, it's all gonna come out. Gene Deal already.
Justin Bieber was barely 15 when he spent 48 hours completely under Diddy's control. A long hidden video on Justin's own YouTube channel shows Diddy announcing, "He's with me for the next 2 days doing whatever we want," calling it a 15-year-old's dream. But in hindsight, that moment now seems more like grooming. They laughed as the camera rolled, but today, Justin sees those clips differently. He's reached out to Usher saying, "We both lived it. We both knew it wasn't right." Together, they want to give context to that video, so the world understands what a 15-year-old's dream really meant.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
People unearthing videos of Justin Bieber at Diddy parties. Now, Justin Bieber was obviously extremely young when he entered the industry, extremely innocent when he entered the industry, an industry that he did not quite understand as a boy who just knew how to sing and play the guitar and just did both of those things on YouTube. Then he was scooped up, and suddenly he was a part of people like Diddy going after him and saying, "Hey man, why don't you pick up my phone calls?" There's actually a video of that. Diddy and Justin Bieber looks to be like 15 years old and said, "Why aren't you picking up my phone calls?" And he's like, "Oh, I know you were trying to contact me through people and I don't have your number." And the next thing we know, Justin is at Diddy's parties. And in this one video, it looks like whatever Justin is doing, and I'm not going to show it out of just respect for the fact that I truly believe that Justin Bieber is a victim. But whatever he is doing in this video with Trey Songz and Odell Beckham Jr. looks highly suspicious. I can show you a still from that video because I think the relevant part is Justin Bieber is not sober. But the memoir says that when she watched back the tapes, she was so shocked because there were things, quote, "Some of the tapes had things I would have never expected. The gay parties are one thing, but the young boys, like the two hip-hop stars formerly managed by Diddy and the then 18-year-old pop star, I would have never known." The book publisher is claiming that it was the friends that gave him this thumbnail, the friends that provided this memoir. The friends also provided copies of these alleged sex tapes so that he knew that it was legitimate. And the final entry of the memoir from Kim Porter, before she mysteriously got pneumonia and didn't survive it as a 47-year-old, is her dramatically telling her friends, quote, "He got me," and then calling 911.
To get away from them in their mentorship.
In a recent interview with Storm Monroe, Jaguar spilled all the tea about how Diddy didn't stop at using Justin for his own pleasure. He allegedly also passed him off to his friends and allowed them to have their way with the poor young Justin. Justin Bieber has also been trending these last few weeks after the raid on Diddy's homes, and many disturbing videos of him have been
Khloe Kardashian once mentioned on Keeping Up with the Kardashians that Diddy's naked parties included Quincy and Justin Bieber, and that half the people there were completely naked. At the time, it was brushed off as celebrity gossip. Now, Usher and Justin are turning that gossip into testimony. They're urging anyone who was at those parties to come forward, wanting every detail exposed so these stories can't be dismissed as rumors. After all, they were just kids, too young to consent to those adult spectacles.
So who was with you this weekend? A bunch of my friends. Diddy, Quincy, Justin Bieber, so far so good. French Montana. Do you even know half the people you're naming? No. She didn't go to bed. I haven't been to bed yet. You haven't? I want to be Clay when I grow up, Court. I got on a plane at 5:30 a.m. Go to this party.
think half the people there were butt naked. You would have loved.
Oh my God.
Have I ever dated someone and their sibling?
In 2020, Justin released Lonely, a song where he opens up about his true emotions, feeling invisible even at the height of his fame. Some of the lyrics say, "Everybody saw me sick and it felt like no one gave a damn." This isn't just about Justin's mental health. It's about being a child pushed into situations and demands he couldn't handle. He told Apple Music's Zane Lowe about the importance of protecting up-and-coming artists from being treated the way he was when he was that young, in this dark and unforgiving industry.
Everybody knows my past. Well, baby, that's the price you pay for the money and fame that I understand. And everybody should be. It felt like no one told the same. Criticize ideas, baby, kid. Oh.
I'm tearing up thinking about it, just with the Kobe situation, you know. Just never know. And so I just wanted to be a good example, you know, and yeah.
Did you feel protective of her?
Yeah, I definitely feel protective of her. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, you know, telling me they love me and, you know, just turn their back on you in a second. So yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, you know, she can count on me, but at the end of the day, I don't want to, never gonna force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So I just kind of, you know, let her do her thing, and if she ever needs me, I'm gonna be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments, because people take for granted encounters, and
all of this comes as Sean Diddy Combs sits in a Brooklyn lockup, facing trial for trafficking and abuse. Lawyers are digging through his past, and Usher and Justin may be called to testify. If they do, their testimonies will reveal that these allegations aren't new. They've been building for decades, with clues hidden in interviews, videos, and whispers in hallways. Now, two former protégés are coming together to connect all the dots, proving they were just kids left unprotected.
In the biggest trial of his life, from those freak-offs to those RICO charges. There's a lot going on in this case, and a lot of witnesses will also be taking the stand. But here to break down the very latest, I want to bring into the conversation legal analyst Nima Rahmani. Nima, thanks so much for being with us here on Night Now from Fox.
Of course, Christina, excited for next week.
And it's been a trial that we've been continuing to follow here over the last few months, and really over the last year, as those developments have still tried to come into our newsroom. But let's start with the very basics, something that came out this week. Diddy formally declined the last plea deal that he was offered. Again, we know court is set to begin on Monday. Was this an expected move for him to turn down that final plea offer?
Christina, it was expected, and the judge in the case, Judge Subramanian, asked Diddy, did you decline and reject the government's offer. And
Sean Diddy Combs stood up in that courtroom before the judge, confirmed that he had been offered a plea deal. Details were not specified, though, by the prosecution, and that he rejected that plea deal. And what that means is that this trial will move forward as scheduled, and that Diddy is going to allow his fate to be decided by a jury. Now, before he was escorted into the courtroom by U.S. Marshals, I saw one of them checking the chair he typically sits on and scanning underneath it with his hand. Then he bent down on his knees and checked underneath his section of the defense table. There's no question security is tight here, even for a federal courthouse. Diddy was wearing the tan inmate uniform for the hearing, but he's going to be able to wear a button-down shirt, sweater, and pants for the trial, and will have 5 sets of clothes for the Monday through Friday hearings. He will be allowed 2 pairs of shoes with no laces. The parties decided also, and a lot of time spent about how they will conduct the actual jury selection, which takes place early next week.
So if they're waging a criminal prosecution, do they have unlimited powers to go to all the civil actions and get all that discovery evidence?
Yes, it would be by request, but if the government has cause to believe that some of the civil actions, that there's evidence in there that they need for their case, they can subpoena that. They can also subpoena celebrities as witnesses in this case. If they're watching videos and there are celebrities in there and they feel that their testimony is relevant, they can do that.
Their goal is to present a complete picture of how a teenager's trust was manipulated into something abusive. By doing this together, they hope to inspire other survivors to break their silence. When 2 of the biggest names in music say, "Enough is enough," it can change the conversation forever. What happens next could reshape how the industry handles young talent. This forces us to ask tough questions. How did Diddy manage to avoid scrutiny for so long? What doors were open to these 2 teenagers that should have remained locked? These questions matter because they highlight just how easily fame can become a trap for the vulnerable.
And for anyone, of course, the allure of money and fame, that can be pretty mesmerizing, but especially, I would imagine, for a child. So keep that in mind, 10-year-old child here. The complaint says, quote, plaintiff performed several rap songs for Combs. Combs complimented plaintiff on his rapping and told plaintiff that he could make him a star. Combs asked plaintiff how badly he wanted to be a star and what plaintiff would do to get to be one. Plaintiff responded, as might any 10-year-old child, that he would do anything. So at this point, one of the other people present allegedly gave this boy a soda, and after he drank it, he started to feel, quote, a little funny, but he chalked it up to being maybe just so excited about his opportunity to rap for Sean Combs. The plaintiff now believes that that soda was drugged with either GHB, known as the date rape drug, or ecstasy, or maybe even both. And that's interesting because, again, it's not Combs accused of giving a drug drink to an alleged victim. It's one of his employees or associates or friends, people who were involved in something that likely didn't appear to be above board and yet did it anyway. That person, although to be clear, is not named in the complaint. The complaint says, quote, after plaintiff consumed his soda and began feeling its effects, Combs told plaintiff to move closer to him, which plaintiff did. Combs then abruptly pushed plaintiff down and said words to the effect of, you have to do some stuff you don't want to do sometimes. Now, the next part of the complaint is just incredibly graphic. I'm not going to repeat it here, but essentially John Doe claims that Combs sexually assaulted him and then he lost consciousness.
Turned to a public enemy, man.
Let's turn to Diddy, who's been hit with 5 new sexual assault lawsuits, the first of which includes alleged involvement by his famous friend. According to this complaint, a Jane Doe accuser claims she was just 13 when Diddy and an unnamed male star allegedly raped her while another female celebrity watched. The alleged assault occurred during a 2000 VMA after party, hours after E.T. spoke to Diddy and then girlfriend J-Lo on the red carpet.
We're very excited. There's a good energy in the air, so very happy.
It's a big old party though, you know.
The woman claims while at the party she drank something that made her feel disoriented. She then went to rest in a bedroom when Diddy and the male celeb allegedly took turns raping her with no intervention by the female who watched. There is no indication J-Lo attended this VMA after party.
But Busby told reporters that the future plaintiffs have, quote, legitimacy and merit thanks to corroborating evidence and witnesses. In fact, a former detective from the Houston Police Department has joined his firm to help vet people and their accounts. As Busby says that some have already even spoken with the FBI in connection with that agency's investigation into Sean Combs, and Busby says they're sharing all information that they come across. The allegations against Combs run the gamut from sexual assault and rape to false imprisonment to prostitution, and of the 120 individual plaintiffs that Busby plans to represent, he says 25 of them were minors when they say they were attacked.
You should know, in this group, it is evenly divided between males and females. There are 60 males and 60 females who have joined us to pursue these claims as plaintiffs. In this group, 62% identify as African American, 30% are white, and the remainder are Hispanic or Asian. The victims are from more than 25 states. The majority are from California, New York, Georgia, and Florida. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old.
As they find strength in numbers, Usher and Justin are sending a powerful message. They were just kids, and they won't let that be forgotten. If they step into that courtroom, they'll bring every memory of fear and every lost moment of innocence into the light. They'll stand together, so no one else has to face what they did alone. Thank you for sticking with us through this deep dive. If you want every update on this story, every leaked clip, every court filing, every new testimony, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What questions do you want Usher and Justin to ask Diddy under oath? We're here to keep digging until the full truth is revealed.